Many metaphysical tenets seem to be universally accepted as true. Join us as Mel Doerr hosts a discussion with other psychics to explore these topics from different points of view. Do we all have to believe in the same things? No. But in order to accept the opinions of others, we need to understand them and not judge them. We need to look at the other side of the coin.
Hi, everybody. As you can see, I'm not Mel Doerr. He's not hosting tonight. It's my turn. And I have the lovely, beautiful Colleen Pearl, the cool Crone, next to me. Several of our other regulars that have been jumping on with us, things happen. And so you just have me and Colleen tonight. So that'll work too. And hi, Jackie. And so just to say hello to everybody and welcome, we're going to be talking about voodoo tonight. What is it? What is similar to it? And now we got some people jumping in here. All right. Let's see. Hi, KL Straight. That's a new name. Welcome. Rhapsody and Rainbow, Jody. Tanrahan, I guess, from Australia. Wow, that's a long way away. Martha, Judy, welcome everybody. Thank y'all for coming. Well, basically, this started out as a conversation backstage after a show several months ago with me and Colleen and Mel, and I don't remember who all else was with us that night. And we were talking about looking at something from both sides, and then Mel said, well, let's do a show, the other side of the coin. And although I think originally we were saying devil's advocate, and then it was like, yeah, that doesn't sound too good. Let's find another word for it. And Colleen, I think you're the one that came up with the other side of the coin, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's okay. That's what I thought. You were the one that came up with the name. I'm not good at names. Oh, thank you, KL Straight. That's sweet. And Civ Tapper, Bobby Baker, Kathy G. Wow, thank you, ladies or gents.
And Civ Tapper, I don't know if you saw that. She's from Sweden.
Holy moly! Wow,
right
Sweden.
Super chat, yeah.
Yeah, Civ Tapper. Wow. Oh, I've always wanted to go there. I've never been anywhere, but yeah, I would love to be able to go over the other side of the world and see how refined people live. Instead of yahoos like you get here in the States, you know. We refined ones are few and far between. As you notice, we've had to find each other on YouTube because invariably they're not in your neighborhood. So anyway, tonight we're going to talk about voodoo. I brought that up because being Cajun and born and raised in Louisiana, down at the bottom of the boot in the bayou, it's just always been something that's been around. Everybody kind of, it would get mentioned from time to time, but there was no real big talk about it, probably because I'm not in the New Orleans area. You get over closer to New Orleans, it's a more predominant topic. More people talk about it. You get a lot of traffic that comes in looking for it, and you don't really get that here in my area. I'm about 2 hours west of New Orleans, and so I just thought it would really be interesting because for Christmas I had one of my members sent me a voodoo tarot deck. It comes with this big old huge book. You can see I got tabbies all through it. And so as we were putting this show together and discussing topics, I thought, well, voodoo would be kind of a cool topic. And then I realized how much I didn't know about it once I started researching into it. And then I thought, okay, well, let's just kind of skim the surface on it and then do some compare and contrast to other elements that are similar to it. I think the uh, I think the if we have time after we do the presentation and everything, we should be able to answer a question or two. Um, just depends on how quickly I can go through this. Since it's only me and Colleen, it won't be as many interruptions. So, and but yes, you can go ahead and ask a question. Just put it in all caps, and I got Colleen to help me star things, and so that we don't miss anything. Hopefully, um, a medial question.
I
What
think she means medical.
I don't really answer medical. I'm not a doctor. Um, I could look at the energy around something and see what it says, but other than that,
She says not medical.
oh, not medical.
Okay,
Okay,
I don't know what that means
I
then.
don't know what medial means. Do I have to
Medium,
go?
maybe?
Um, a medium question? Is that what you meant? Medium. Okay, like a psychic medium. Gotcha, gotcha.
Hmm.
Okay. If they come in, they come in. If they don't, they don't. I have no control over mediumship skills, y'all. I'm in the learning process in that department. Um, and sometimes it's right there, and other times it's crickets. So, um, anyways, so I guess what kind of started me off on getting back interested in voodoo again was a couple of years ago. A little company out of South Florida started making these little voodoo dolls. It's called Watch Over Voodoo, is the name of the company. And I saw them at the local grocery store. They had like a kiosk at the end of one of the registers. And I thought, okay, these are like big time Christian people at this store. They're selling voodoo dolls. It kind of got my attention because most people that claim to be really super religious, this is a no-no, because they bought into the rumors of what it is and not the truth of what it is. But this little company out of South Florida, I had I went back to the store 2 days later and bought a doll because they had a Wonder Woman doll. I was like, sorry y'all, but I gotta have that. That's Wonder Woman's. That's my girl. So and I started looking up information on the company just to see where they were located and why they were doing voodoo dolls. And they were trying to bring it back around to the original meaning of voodoo, which was more or less the dolls and everything were created in order to provide protection and health and that kind of thing. With like whoever you give a doll to, it's there to either take away what's upsetting them or put extra protection around them if they feel like they're being targeted or something. It was all used for good. It wasn't until Hollywood kind of got a hold of it that it went around the bend and turned into zombies and all kinds of weird stuff. Um, but as I was reading, pardon me while I take a sip. Originally, voodoo comes from African theology, which was I think the European class got it from the Egyptians, who got it from the Africans. And it's a form of, it's almost like its own religion. It's in the States, I think it's in the process of becoming an official religion of voodooism. Um, and in Europe, once people
Oh, Shari left somehow. Let's see if she's coming back in. I don't see her even in the bottom of the studio. So, um, oh man, I should have been keeping up with what she was talking about. Oh, here we go. She's coming right back, folks. Oh,
No,
okay.
my computer turned off. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
now.
You're good. So you were talking about Europeans picking up on
You're an admin tonight. You keep us rolling.
Yep, I kept you rolling. Do you remember where
So
you were?
anyway,
Okay.
I got my notes right here.
Okay.
I've been taking notes for like 2 weeks. It started getting spread through Europe by the gypsies, who picked it up from the Egyptians and the Africans, because they were kind of mixed and mingled more, I guess you could say. And so a lot of it is based around African spirits or African ancestors called the Loa, Loa. And they are considered half-light beings. If you go back to original meaning, you could only see them through a mirror or in a mirror. It wasn't like you could directly look and see a spirit or something. So it was derived from a Daomine word meaning spirits. Voodoo tarot, which are the cards that I've got here, because I've got this whole tarot deck that's very intimidating. I haven't really used it yet because it's kind of, so there's a lot of stuff to learn. The tarot is an invocation, is what the cards are used for, to call in the
Hi guys. I guess her computer went off again. So there she goes. She's back.
My internet keeps clicking on and off, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, I'll just prepare a few musical numbers for the next time. Go ahead.
There you go. And I think what I'm going to do is shut down some of these other windows. I think it might be messing with everything. And there we go. Hopefully that'll make it a little better. Anyway, so the purpose of the tarot in voodoo is to call in the spirits to help work the magic of what voodoo is. A lot of voodoo as we know of it today was developed in New Orleans, where you had African slaves and you had Haitian people that were mingling and mixing there in the New Orleans area, because it was one of the largest ports in the U.S. back in the 1700s, 1800s. That's where all the pirates went. The pirates all hung out in New Orleans, which is part of the reputation that it has for being a party place. And so it kind of, from what it originally started out with, it started kind of getting changed and adapted to other religions and whatnot, once it got to New Orleans. And you started getting different African countries that were coming in, because you had slaves coming in from the whole continent. You had people from Haiti, you had people from South and Central America. And so you were starting to get a lot of these other types of earth religions, I guess you could put it, that were starting to mix and mingle. And one of the things that I was reading up on is that with somebody had previously, when I'd mentioned something about we were going to cover voodoo, and they asked me, well, isn't that the same as hoodoo? And I was like, no, but I know it's not the same, but I don't know why. So that's one of the things I had to research. And a basic, very base definition is voodoo is considered a religion, thought of like a magical tradition, almost like Wicca or a pagan, or some of the other more magical earth religions are Voodoo kind of falls in that same category. Whereas hoodoo is more of uh, a form of just native or African culture magic without any religion attached to it. Um, Now, hoodoo, once it got to the States, did start integrating with Catholicism. So you have a lot of Catholic overtures that mix in with hoodoo. Voodoo started integrating with Protestant Christianity. So you have a lot of the Protestant stuff that mixes in. But you also get a lot of Catholic stuff mixed in as well, because Louisiana is a Catholic heavy state over here. Basically, it was set up and run by the churches way back in the beginning. So with voodoo, it's considered a religion in the sense that you have to walk a certain path. You have to perform your magics, your spells, and whatnot with the elders or the leaders of whatever sect that you are in. Kind of like your teachers and your mentors, you have to, in order to become ordained as a voodoo practitioner, there are certain steps and levels that you have to go through to get there. With hoodoo, they don't buy none of that. They're like, yeah, whatever, believe what you want. It's just a form of magic, and it's just a different kind of form of magic, which, from what I understand, there are probably multiple different types of magic that are used throughout the world, just depending on where you are and what you believe in and what that culture, determined was the way it's supposed to be. Now, originally, like I was saying earlier, voodoo, hoodoo, a lot of the other stuff like that, they were all designed as a form of providing comfort and protection for the people within the community. A sickness started going around, or if scary things that go bump in the night and they don't know what it is, and they would make up stories about what went bump in the night, and sometimes it was scary and sometimes not. But depending on which avenue you took would depend on how religious or non-religious you got with it. And but it was still designed with the use of dolls, with the use of rituals. Sacrifices would be made. Rarely was it a blood sacrifice unless somebody killed a chicken for it, which supposedly was just stronger medicine that you were providing. And it was all done around protection, helping people.
Okay. Hi. Let's see. Um, let's see. Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby. Hello, my good. Okay, she's back, folks. There we go.
Doing the same thing.
I said I'd have a musical number, so.
I was watching Allie and Deb Zackow the other day. It kept happening to Deb. She kept throwing her out and throwing her out. I'm like, I hope it doesn't do that to me. Look what's happening. So I'm going to start shortening this in case it completely blows out altogether. But it's really an intriguing and different way of looking at it. Now, I'm not Creole, so there's a lot of that aspect that's more wrapped up in voodoo than the Cajun people are. Although there is some kind of basic elements of that here. We have more like what we call traiteurs, which is like a witch doctor, a medicine man, that people would go to for cures and protections and that kind of thing. And so it just, the cultures just kind of differ. But voodoo and hoodoo both are practiced across the country. As I said, Voodoo is in the process of becoming a recognized official religion in the US. So that ought to be interesting when that goes through, especially with who we got in the White House now.
You better be careful.
Yeah, I mean, people will start investing in dolls.
You better
I
look
mean,
out where he leaves his hairbrush.
yeah, that's it. Don't leave hair in your hairbrush. And Colleen is Wiccan, so she knows of what she speaks when it comes to the magical end of things. So I've been learning a lot from her over the last few years, which has been really interesting. And another thing that I looked up was the Santa Muerte, and I had to close that window, so I don't have my notes on that because I didn't write it down. But these are just some of the cards. Now it's based off of more of a Mexican religious. It's heavy Catholic centered, I believe, if memory serves. Um, and it's based on Santa Muerte was like the spirit of death, or it helps people cross over to the other side. Or I wish Ramon would have been in town this week. I would have had him come on. He knows all about it. He practices that that form of religion with Santa Muerte. And so there's it's the more I looked into it, the more similar everything was. It just started getting different depending on what culture it was coming from and what culture it was landing into here in the States. So out west, you're going to have more of the Santa Muerte because there's a stronger, heavier Mexican influence there. Whereas central and east, it's more of just the voodoo and the hoodoo because it was more heavily influenced by the influx of African slaves and a lot of the Caribbean island people and whatnot that came along. And that's just because of where we're located on the globe and how it works. Now, I did look up a few other things I knew nothing about, never heard of it until I started doing this. And one was Guatemalan worry dolls, which are very similar to little voodoo dolls, but they're made, it's a traditional Central American folk art, and they are made with the traditional Guatemalan dress that a mother or a grandmother would wear. And then the dolls are given to children who say are having nightmares or are very anxious about something, or something bad's happened in the family and they're not processing it very good. And they still use this today. But they're given the dolls, which are created, each doll is created individually for that child. And they're given a doll and they're told that you put all of your worries into this doll, then you stick it under your pillow and you sleep on it. And when you wake up the next morning, all of your worries and concerns are gone because the doll has absorbed it all. So you can go forward and.
Oh, you can, have that doll. I'm dying to find out what she says, because do you then destroy the doll or do you hang on to the doll? I don't know. I'd imagine that the child would want to hang on to it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, where were you at? You were
Oh, I
talking.
just said, so when the child wakes up, then is the child told to get rid of the doll, or does the child not want to get rid of the doll, or what do you do with the doll?
It doesn't say that they get rid of the doll. I think it's just something that they put away. It's like once it's absorbed your worries, then you just kind of like put it away. And if something happens again, you take it out, you put your new worries into it, and then you sleep on it. That's how I understood it. Actually, there are a lot of current counseling and psychological practices, especially those dealing with children, who use the Guatemalan dolls or variations of the same. You have a lot of your counseling and whatnot for kids that will use toys and whatnot for kids to be able to express either what has happened to them or how they're feeling, or to get out.
Oh, yep, I agree. Yeah, counseling, they use puppets, they use stuffed animals, they use them drawing. They have lots of different ways to let the kids express themselves. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm sure Colleen was filling in really good for me, even though she doesn't have my notes. And I apologize, y'all. I don't know what the hell is wrong with the internet tonight. It's just flipping out. I know our complex is in the process of switching over from cable to fiber. And it's like the crossover is happening within the next month or two on all the buildings. I think that has something to do with it.
So this is literally crossed wires. This is what's happening.
Cross wires, exactly. And I must not have done enough ritual work over the computer today to make sure it behaved. But you can buy the Guatemalan dolls. You can get them on Amazon. You can buy like individual dolls, or you can buy a whole pack of, say, 10 or 20 or 50 or whatever, which I thought was kind of cool, especially if you're in a practice that's what you do with that you're counseling kids and whatnot, especially those that have gone through different forms of trauma and everything. Then you want to try to implement as many different things as you can to help that child process it and move on. Originally, voodoo, like I said, was very much the same. The whole point was to help people process traumas or tragedies or anything along those lines, illnesses, that kind of thing, so that they could move on and continue and not just stay stuck in that one place. And so, unfortunately, with the melding of all the different nations and the different variations as things came along, at some point or another, Hollywood came knocking and was like, oh, how interesting. Let's make a horror movie out of this. And voila, now you've got voodoo that everybody thinks is evil and horrible. And when I got my first voodoo doll and I was showing it to some of my friends, their first responses were, that's evil. You need to get rid of that. I'm like, no, it's not evil at all. It's the intention you put into it. So I won all of them over by giving them a doll. Like, here, you have your own doll now. You can do with it as you please. And they all love it. They love their dolls. And because I sent them after I blessed them and filled them full of good intentions and then sent them out to them. And so, which is originally what it was meant for. And then there's also what is called kitchen witch dolls, which is based on Norwegian traditions, from what I understood. And it's basically, I mean, they're called poppets. You're looking at a lot of the Scandinavian countries, Germany, other European countries that use kitchen witch dolls. And you would get little dolls that usually would be dressed, in aprons with a broom or cooking utensils or something, and they were used to bless what you were growing, to make your family healthy, and to bless your house. And to be honest, I've actually seen these in people's houses and just didn't know what they were. I thought it was just some kind of decoration they had. I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't think to ask at the time because I thought it was just a decoration. So I wasn't real inquisitive when I was younger. I just kind of took things as they were. And so there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of melding and mixing as Christianity spread throughout the country, throughout US. You have a lot of that mixing in and getting all mixed in together with these other religions that come over from different areas of the world. Plus, you have your Native American religions that were here, that a lot of it kind of would get blended in depending on what part of the country you're in as to what kind of stuff would get blended or be interchanged. Let's see. I think that's about all my notes because I'm like shortcutting for fear I'm going to get cut off again.
Well,
Colleen is like, I look like I'm going to fall asleep. You look like me a lot of times at night.
No, I just want to put this up because Civ Tapper 2300 said it's
Easter
connected with
time.
Easter time in Sweden. The
Oh, how
the
interesting.
the kitchen dolls.
Yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
that is very interesting.
I would not have guessed that.
Me either. And the information I pulled up from it didn't mention Easter at all. So it just talked about, it was just talked about as being a good witch that you put in your house for blessings. And that's all that it said with what I looked up. So Wikipedia was falling behind, I guess, that day. Didn't give me all the other information. And so
interesting. And I know when I first
started, that's you doing that.
What's that? It's me.
I'm sitting there looking, I'm like, I didn't remember typing anything. And then it dawned
everything
on
I
me,
type is coming from you.
Coming up as you, as me,
Yeah. But when I first started really trying to expand, my world beyond books about Wicca, which was way long time ago, the thing that I was really drawn to, actually, I didn't know was someone who had studied voodoo. So the thing that I was really drawn to was they're called enchanted candles. And the lady had a shop in New York City, Lady Rhea. And I loved her shop. And I went there as many times as I could. I just went there all the time. And she would create candles for you. Well, not her, but the people who worked there for her would create the candles for you. You told them what you wanted. And she had a book. And I bought my book way back when, and I still have it, but I did buy a new one because my book had fallen apart, but I still have that book. And she used what she called vives, and they were the symbols. Now, in Wicca, I would call them sigils, but they were called vives there. And I don't know if I'm saying it right or not, but they were really pretty. And I wish now I would have got that out so I could show you some, because the symbols on them were just so, to me, they were unusual. And now that I've kind of gotten used to them, but she would carve the symbol in the candle. First of all, it was, she used the candles that look like the saints candles, the ones that are poured into the tall glass jars, the round jars, but they weren't poured in. They were separate candles that you could pull out. They're called 7-day pull-out candles, right? And so you could burn them for a very, very long time. So she's saying mostly decoration, and kids go around for candy dressed up like witches. It's time for the witches to go to Blakula, place in Sweden, and meet the devil. Ooh, why do the kids have to meet the devil?
I don't know, but it sounds closer and closer to Vlad the Impaler than
yeah, it sounds more like
which is where the gypsies kind of come from in that area.
We do at Easter time, we do have a big emphasis on candy,
Yes,
so
we do.
That part of it kind of went
and there's
our way.
The bunny and the eggs and all that, which is all part of pagan beliefs,
right,
not Christian beliefs.
Right. But,
so anyway, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. So the candles, they'd carve them, and then she would she couldn't paint them, but she would use colored glitter to fill in parts of the picture. Now I try to do it, and I'm terrible at it. Mine just come out like a big mush ball of all different colors of glitter.
I'm arts and crafts challenged myself.
Yeah, it just didn't work for me. But hers are little works of art, and you would then take it home, and she'd tell you, what to do, what to say or whatever. And in her book, she tells you little prayers to say for each of the spells that the candles are for. And I practiced that for years and years,
Yeah.
along with a lot of other stuff that are really originally probably more from voodoo than they are
Yeah.
from anything else. Because I don't know if you guys realize this, but most of Wicca is made up. It just pulls from all sorts of different cultures around the world. And, two old white guys made it up, really. And and so you can't get too precious about, well, that's not the way it's done. Well, who cares about the way it's
Yeah.
done?
Do it
I
the way
mean,
you want
and
to do it.
one thing I noticed about when you're in New Orleans and you're talking to a
Candle
voodoo
magic is
priestess,
very popular down here.
yeah,
Yeah.
candle magic's big, but they're not so precious about the way it's done. If you ever read anything about like Marie Laveau, she was just very instinctual, you know,
Yeah.
and she just did things that made sense to her. And she would always say, yes, my mother did it that way. Like Marie
Which
Laveau.
is a common refrain in the South as well. That's how my mama did it. That's how my
Yeah.
grandmama did it. That's how my
Yeah.
great grandmama did it. And that applies to any area of your life, social, political, familial, it doesn't matter. It just, well, that's the way everybody does it.
That's right.
It's
They
like,
do it the way their
it
mama did
doesn't
it.
matter right or wrong. That's just the way everybody does it. So,
Right.
yeah, it's trying to get people to change opinions down here is like molasses moving in the dead of winter. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
I just had someone on a couple of weeks ago as well who just started her company, and she makes candles. And this is one of hers.
Pretty.
This one's called the Sea Witch. And she doesn't use any chemicals or anything in it. Called Ribbons and Wax is the name of her company, and she's just getting it started up again. And really impressive. It was a couple of weekends ago I had her on. If you're interested, y'all can check out that video, and the link for her channel and everything is there. For her company is there. You can go in and look. And yeah, there are so many. I know where I'm at, there is such a mixture between European Americans, Celtic people that came over from Ireland and Scotland and Wales, and all of their stuff that they believe. You had the French coming in. Most of the Cajun people are directly related from France to Nova Scotia to down here to where we landed when the Mississippi River hit the ocean. It's like, oh, okay, I guess we'll stop here. But you have Native American tribes from this area that a lot of their beliefs have kind of been blended in with things. You have the Catholic Church, and a lot of their beliefs have been blended in with things. Of course, the last probably 75 years, got a lot more of the evangelical churches that have come in that have blended in with a lot of things, or just convinced a lot of people that what they were doing was evil and wrong. And so it's like people just stay with the Catholic Church because they don't fuss at them for it. They give them a candle. Go burn your candle. You'll get some good luck.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's a very that comes from. I mean, people could embrace that, I think, because of the church, because the church was all about burning the candles too.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of your candle magic is very heavily induced from Catholicism, because they're a real big thing with burning candles and lighting candles. And there's a whole religion almost on candles based around it that I vaguely remember from catechism in my early years. But
oh, my girls are home. My cat's on the desk. I'm going to shut the door because I got all sorts of stuff happening here. Well, something I was going to interrupt and tell Shari was, we still use candles on birthday cakes to wish people well for the coming year. And as an astrologer, I think that's very auspicious because your birthday is your solar return, which is a fire planet. It's all a big ball of fire. So I think that's very auspicious that we light those candles for people on their birthday. I think that's really
well, look
magical.
at Marina from Heart Center Tarot, and several of the others. They do a show once a month called Shine Your Light, and it's basically to get everyone in the world at 7 p.m. their time, whatever it's 7 o'clock where you're at, to either turn on a porch light or light a candle, preferably a battery operated candle that you can leave on all night, to just shine a light, to say. Marina always said that her vision was space would look down and go, what's going on Earth? All these lights are going on all the way around, so that was her vision of it. And it's pretty popular. It's a lot of fun to watch. And I know I do it every Saturday night now. I automatically go. It's become a habit for me. I go light a candle at 7 o'clock. I have a little battery operated one that I can use, so I don't have to worry about the cat knocking it over or the dog knocking it over or anything like that. Hey Clarence, I haven't seen you in forever and a day. How you been? And
I got my candle going.
Yeah, and I meant to light mine, and I didn't light it yet. So, with everything being so wonky, I'm kind of worried if I should light it or not. Maybe it'll bring me good luck if I light it.
So, Deanna, where is this in the again? I want to get her comment. So, Deanna, however you say your name, is saying America is the melting pot. This is so true, and all of these beliefs have kind of influenced each other. And then she said, Hanukkah lights candles. That's right, and that's in the And then Linda Bishop asked, "Do soaker candles count?" I don't know what the hell they are, but so any kind of lights, fine.
Hanukkah light,
because the original thing that people did for lighting things was candles, and now we have all sorts of lights, twinkle lights, Christmas lights,
we have Christmas lights that stay on our patio year round. We burn them year round. When we DoorDash something, we always tell them look for the Christmas lights. We're the only one in our building that's got Christmas lights on, in July.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's and I think because light always represents, from a religious aspect, being closer to the light, going into the light, getting visions or wisdom from the light. I know there are a lot of people who scry with lights, with candles, into the candle flames. I've met a few people that do that, as well as crystal balls or bowls of water or whatever, black mirrors. I mean, there's all different kinds of ways they do that. Me being a Gemini, I am always interested and intrigued in all the different little things, and I usually kind of learn just enough to know a basic outline of what it is, and then I get bored and I move on to something else.
You're such a Gemini.
Exactly. That's why I drove them crazy in college. They finally said, Mrs. Hinkle, you have to graduate now. You have too many credits. And none of them are in any one thing. So we're sending you to general studies. And that's where I wound up getting my degree in, because I kept changing my major every 2 or 3 semesters. And I drove them nuts. So, but yeah, there's so much that can be learned from embracing these different elements of practices, whether if it's a religious practice or just a ritual practice or anything along those lines. I don't know what else you would call it. To me, they all feel kind of religious based, because it's following a pattern, a ritual, a way of doing something that's either to bring in good fortune or to bring in good health or to help protect those around you with your family.
Oh, she's out again. Yeah, I don't know where she was going with the lights, because but I agree that the lights are very important for people, because they do make us feel that we're connected to the divine. I mean, even if you look at something like the Kabbalah or a Christmas tree, the very top is the lightest part, because you're not necessarily closer to God, but you're closer to divinity, because that's where your crown chakra is. That is the first place that you connect to the universe. So you're closer to divinity.
I'm trying
I
to
would say.
find the picture in here. A lot of voodoo is based off of the Kabbalah,
Oh, I didn't know
the
that.
tree of life. I didn't know that either until I started reading this book. And I was, oh,
Wow.
there it is. That's one of,
Yeah,
see,
absolutely.
and that's the basic
Einzelflower. Yeah,
Kabbalah. Yeah.
Einzelflower.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a lot of the voodoo structures of how, because there are different, like even with the cards, there are different let me find the right there are, depending on, like if you look at tarot cards, you have the major arcana, you have your court cards, you have your pip cards. And so voodoo cards are kind of similar in that respect, but at the same time a little different. It's, you have what do they call it? The roads. And here we go. We have the 22 roads, which are the different paths you can take, and that's connected to sacrifices.
And
I mean, they even,
can I explain how that's part of the Kabbalah?
yeah.
So
Go
hold
ahead.
up the picture of the tree of life again.
Oh, let me get back to it. I flipped the book closed to,
So when you have the tree of life, you see all those circles? Those are
here
called
we go.
sephiroth, and those are conditions. And they're
Uh-huh.
also a part of the path that you walk when you work through the Kabbalah. And we won't get into what all that means, but each of those circles are connected by a bar to another circle, either above it, below it, well, also above, below, and across, or even diagonally to it. Okay, you can put the book down.
Uh,
So those are the pathways. So there are actually 22, which corresponds to the major arcana in the tarot, which
right.
corresponds to all the things you're talking about in the voodoo cards. But those are um, supposedly those pathways help you reach enlightenment. And they also show you on the tree of life that there's no one way to get to enlightenment.
Right. You have all these different roads, and that's what it's called in the voodoo tarot, is the roads
Yeah.
that you go on. Everything from like World Egg, Dr. John, Marie Laveau,
Mm-hmm.
Loco, Master of the Head, Marasa, Dance, Possession, Couche, The Market, Zombie, Le Mort, Keep on Ange, Thray, La Mardi Gras, and on it goes. And then you have the 40 spirits, which are like your pip cards. And so it breaks that down to different, and most of the names or titles that they're given for all of this are African in original culture, but they still use the African words and the African chants. Um, one of the things I was reading was talking about uh, when a lot of voodoo first started coming over with the slave trade. You had a lot of Christian Europeans who thought it was evil, thought it was bad, because in African culture, there's a lot of dance and rhythmic drums, just like with Native Americans. And so it's a very bass kind of feeling. You can feel that pulse beating in you with the drum beat and the dancing and the movements, because it's their way of expressing joy to their god or gods, depending on what they believe. And so there were a lot of your European Christians that were actually kind of terrorized by it, I guess would be a good way to put it. It frightened them because they didn't understand it. And instead of trying to understand, they stayed in their ignorance and instead wanted to outlaw it or try to kill it off, or, whatever. Um, it's, which is really sad when you think about it. And then once you got through the what did they call them again? The 40 spirits cards, which is like the pip cards in tarot. Then you have the temple cards, which are very much like your court cards. And but it's in here. It gives you, I mean, not just ways to do, like with this book. I was really intrigued with how much. It's very overwhelming. I mean, I read a little bit and have to walk away from it because it's too much information. But it not only gives you meanings and different.
Oh, shoot. I wanted to hear what else it gave us. Oh, darn it. Okay, well, she's going to be back in a minute because this is what happens on this show tonight. Shari gets pooped out and then she comes back in. Here she is.
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. It also
Okay.
goes into different rituals, sacrificial rituals you can do, and it gives you like list of items that you would get to do a ritual of that sort, depending. Um, and the reason why I mentioned blood sacrifice earlier, because one of the ones in here is talking about you getting a chicken and unaliving the chicken to get to the sauce, so to speak, to go with your sacrifice. And it's like, yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that in my house anytime soon,
I had to do that one time.
Really?
Yeah. I was in Brooklyn and I had met my my new boyfriend who would a couple of years later become my husband. And I was living in a house where I had a renter in the apartment in the house, and I lived in the rest of the house. And this person was just wreaking havoc on my house. I had already moved out away from Brooklyn. I'd moved to New Jersey with him. And so my house was unattended except for her part. And she just made it her business to destroy my property.
Oh my
She
goodness.
she like hooked up a garden hose to one of her sinks and just ran water night and day, and I ended up with a $10,000 water bill to the city.
Oh my God.
That was just one thing she did. I mean, there were 100 other things
That's
that she did
wild.
that just cost me so much money, and I was like, geez, I thought I was going to make money when I sold this house. Now I'm going to be bankrupt before long if she keeps doing this. So my boyfriend at the time, he says, well, I think I know how to take care of that. And he was a pretty mystical guy. And bye, Shari. I'm sorry. So he went and got the chicken and he knew what to do with it. And so he went, he got the chicken. I'm just going to keep going. He went, he got the chicken, and I didn't really know anything about it, but I had to give him permission to do it on my behalf. And so he told me a little bit about what he was going to do. I said, yes, I want you to do this because I want her out. I don't necessarily want her punished by me, but I want her to pay the consequences of what she's done.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Be held
So
accountable.
yeah, so he did. And this woman also understood Wudong because she tried to contact me afterward to ask me, why was I trying to put a hex on her? And I could say with no compunction, I didn't, because I
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it worked. She moved out soon after.
That's it. And sometimes you have to go to these extremes
I did.
for protection, I mean,
Yeah.
which kind of helps you understand how a lot of it, even before Hollywood came knocking, kind of take a turn for the worse. Some poor woman's got a stalker in the community, and back in the day, it was, you should consider yourself lucky some man is paying attention to you, whether if he gives you the willies or not. And so what do? You go to your local witch doctor or your voodooist or your whatever and say, we got to get rid of him, do something.
That's right.
And so thereupon, spells get cast or things get done, the different rituals and whatnot. And that's a form of protection, but you can take that and turn it into something evil and bad. when what you're doing is you're protecting someone from being harassed or hurt or harmed themselves. I mean,
And this is the whole crux of magic. You can learn
yeah,
all sorts of different ways to do magic. It is all comes down to your intention.
right.
No matter what kind of magic it is, a Satru, Celtic, Strega, Voodoo, Santa Muerta, you
Yeah,
know, Wicca, it doesn't matter. It's your intention. You can intend to harm or help.
yeah.
And those are the two impulses, light
It's
and dark,
yeah,
harm or help. So and going back to why it got such a bad rap. Well, Wicca too got a bad rap, and all of these things, voodoo, Wicca, and Satanism, they lumped them all together as the same thing because they didn't
hmm
understand them. Anytime they saw something that, and this was probably happening since the time of the people coming over
caveman. Yeah,
to, the Mayflower or whatever, because people didn't understand. It's as simple as the misunderstanding between white people and the Native Americans. They just didn't understand the way the other people lived.
yeah,
And
and
that,
weren't willing to learn.
well, they were just simple, they wanted things to be simple, and life is
Yeah,
not simple. You're right. They were not willing
yeah,
to learn, but they had been raised to believe that life could be simple, and it's just simply not.
yeah,
So all through history, we have had these periods of time where people just didn't want to understand the other people, like the church taking
yeah.
over the pagans. They didn't want to stop and understand what the pagans were doing was very, very beautiful and divine. They just
Exactly.
didn't want to understand it, and so it's bad. Same in this country. Once things were, like voodoo. Oh, they're slitting a chicken's neck and using the blood of the chicken. That's blasphemous. Well,
Yeah.
you drink wine and call it the blood of Christ.
What's the difference?
What's the
Exactly.
difference?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
everybody wants it to be simple
You
and
eat a
to
piece of
do
cracker and call it the body of Christ, you know? I mean,
right.
it's all in how you want to look at something.
Yeah.
And part of what I love about this lifestyle that I have opened myself back up to and discovered and started learning about is that it just takes a little bit of effort to kind of understand where someone doing something you've never seen or known of before, to understand what they're doing. You say, oh, well, that's very similar to what I do when I do this or when I do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're basically all together. We're still trying to create comfort within our homes, comfort within our families. We're trying to make sure that people feel safe, that they feel they can be prosperous in whatever means that word means for them, and so on down the line. And so I think it's very important. I always think back to um, Disney's version of Beauty and the Beast. And there's a song when the villagers are all going after the beast to go get the beast. And part of the song is, we kill what we hate. We hate um we hate what we're ignorant of, or something like that. But the song relates it to something different. I'm ignorant. I don't know what it means, but instead of learning what it is, I'm going to go kill it
Yeah.
because it frightens me. And sadly enough, that's so much of the world today. Just because somebody looks different, speaks different, sounds different, they don't walk like a duck or talk like a duck. So, you got to go pew pew them because they're different than you. And I think that's where, when you start delving into earth religions, paganism, Wiccan, voodoo, Santa Muerte, just whatever it is that you get into, or just a hodgepodge like me, and you pull a little bit of everything and blend it all together and see what works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in the form of wanting to help other people.
Yeah, it
And
is.
in that process, you help yourself, because when I firmly believe when you help others, that's what comes back on you. And when you do bad to others, that's going to come back on you too. Maybe not tomorrow at 2 o'clock, but it'll find you somewhere down the line.
But also,
And
when you are comfortable in your own skin, when you love yourself, you attract love.
yeah,
When you're filled
exactly.
with light, you attract the light. And so you look
Exactly.
at people that are having these horrible experiences, and you have to say, well, dude, what are you attracting? Why
Yeah.
are you seeing the evil in all these people? Why are you attracting that?
Yeah.
Because maybe there's something wrong inside,
Yeah, what's evil in you that's all you can project on others is evil.
And that's all you're looking for.
One of the things that we tell people that come to us for help to find a spouse or the love of their life or whatever, and it's like, if you don't work on you first and love yourself, you're not ever going to find anybody that's going to love you. I mean,
That's right. I think Shari's the best witch I know. She got it down. She understands. You got to love yourself. You got to not fix, but you got to accept who you are and realize that you're completely perfect. You're in the right place. You're in the perfect place at the perfect point in your life. You are perfect. Just strive to accept that, and life will be easier.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we've been at this an hour. I know we didn't get to any questions. I do apologize, y'all. But this in and out nonsense is making me crazy.
Yeah. That's hard. That's very hard. That's very hard.
Yeah, and Colleen, thank you so much for being able to cover my ass
What a
during this. So,
wonderful job you did explaining this to everybody. That was wonderful, all that information. I loved it. That was
okay,
great.
good. I'm glad y'all all got a little bit. Like I said, it's the Gemini in me. I get interested and I learn a little bit, then I'm like, I'm off over here. I do squirrel real easy.
I do too.
So yeah, that's why we get along. We just,
Yeah.
we both blitz out at the same time.
Mhm.
So thank y'all everybody for coming and being. Colleen, what you got coming up? Anything
Oh, I have lots of
special?
polyterologies coming up. I'm trying to do a Wednesday, Friday, Sunday show every week. It's not always going to work out, but a lot of weeks it's going to work out. And yeah, I see you at least once a month for polyterology, sometimes more. We do reveal the light. We do I think once a month I do a show with Kathy Beal, who's an excellent astrologer. And in between there, I'll have
She's
my
really
sister
good.
on,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That's it. Cool. Well, I got sisters every Wednesday night, except for the once a month when I go join Colleen for Reveal the Future. I skip out on the sisters and I just join them late. And I've got the slumber party every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Central. Anything goes. You can ask any question. No topic is off limits. And you're probably going to get an answer with a naughty card. So, if bad language bothers you, don't bother coming. Other than that, you're welcome. If it doesn't bother you, we have a lot of fun for Saturday nights, and different things throughout the week, here, there, and everywhere. And I know I got stuff planned this weekend. I don't know. My book is buried somewhere, and I'll have to find it. So y'all have a great evening.
Shari,
Oh,
and you have to say you just passed 7,000 subscribers. Yay!
that's right. I got 7,000 subscribers, y'all. Thank you. Y'all are so wonderful. And now it's on to 8. See, my goal is to hit 10,000 by the end of summer. So
I
3,000 to
feel you'll
go.
make it. I feel you'll make it.
And you're what? You're at 20 now or almost?
No. I'm at 12,500.
Oh, okay. Well, we got to get you to 15 then. So yeah.
You gotta try.
Yeah. We're going to work on that too. So, y'all, please be sure Colleen's information is in the description box below. Be sure you go to her channel and like, subscribe, and share. Go check out her videos. She's got some fascinating stuff on her channel. A lot of fun to watch. And I've been privileged to be able to sit in on some of those shows and learned a lot doing that too. So, and
Oh, and there she goes. Okay, I don't know. I think she's going to come back just to sign off, though. I'm not going to sign off for her because it's her show. But you guys in the chat are amazing. You put in lots of great questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them, but here's Shari to tell you everything.
Okay, yeah, for a few seconds anyway, until it goes out again. But we'll be back in about a month. I got to get with Mel because this show was his baby, and it's just been weird for him since we started it. He's missed most of them, just different things. But so I got to get with him, and Colleen and I have a little powwow with him and figure out where to go from here with it, and take it from there. And y'all have a great weekend. Next week is 4th of July weekend for those of us in America. And so that's a 3-day weekend anyway. That's always fun. And isn't it on it's on a Friday. So yeah, that's cool. I'll get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. So that'll be fun. And just smile. Make somebody around you happy. When you see someone, smile at them. Say, hey, I like your shirt. You got great hair, wonderful car, whatever. Just say something nice to people. The more nice.
Amen. That's a good thing to do.
That's it. So thank y'all so much for coming tonight. Hey, Gerald. And we will see y'all soon. You'll find us. Just go to our channels. We post every week where we're going to be and what we're going to do. So bye for now, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.